He is Phil Johnston, former KARE 11 reporter, Minnesotan, and now a Golden Globe nominee for Ralph Breaks the Internet. Hi there, Phil.
Hey, how are you?
You know, I'm great, and I'm even better now that we're chatting with you. First of all, congratulations. This is your third film for Disney, but your first in the co-director role. What is it like directing something like this?
I mean, it's a massive, massive undertaking. These movies kind of take forever. I've worked on it over 3 years, and there are 500 people who work on it. So honestly, it's a huge undertaking. It's sort of like starting a not that small business, and then the movie becomes kind of the product, and it's a huge, huge enterprise with tons of artists and then the Disney machine behind it. So it's as daunting as you might expect.
And you chose some really amazing characters, actors, as your main voices, Sarah Silverman and John C. Reilly. What was it like having them embody your words?
It's amazing. I mean, those two this is my third movie with John, because I did an indie name called Cedar Rapids before the first Ralph. So I've known him now like 10 years, and he's become a good friend, as has Sarah. So when we got back into this, it's sort of like, you know, working with your family again without the holiday dysfunction. It's like just good buddies that you hang out and joke around with. And with those two, there's a ton of improvisation. And then we added Gal Gadot to this movie and Taraji P. Henson. So
Taraji playing the Yes character, correct?
Yes. Taraji plays an algorithm. The movie takes place in the internet, and she's this algorithm that kind of knows all of the latest trends at a kind of a YouTube BuzzFeed combo site called BuzzTube.
You had a lot to deal with and work with because it's the internet, but you've also said, like, it's like landing in, Montana or Hawaii. What aspects do you go with? How did you and your team decide where to go in the internet?
Well, my co-director Rich Moore and I from Jump Street thought it needed to be a movie about the friendship between Ralph and Vanellope, John C. Reilly and Sarah Silverman's characters. And so everything we chose really was bounced off of that idea. How is this going to help or hurt the friendship? And, you know, in the case of this movie, the first film set up this beautiful friendship between the two of them. And as this film goes along, it becomes a little bit toxic as they venture into the internet. And so the different websites we looked at were either meant to service the story or get in the way of their friendship, be an obstacle. And honestly, other than a few gags here and there, that was really the way we chose everything we did in the film.
I'm talking with Phil Johnston, Minnesota native and co-director of Ralph Breaks the Internet. Now he's up for a Golden Globe for that film. The only thing wrong with you, Phil, is that you're a Badger. You went to the University of Wisconsin. That's the only thing I could find as I was researching more of your background. I mean, otherwise, you're a Minnesota native, worked as a reporter at KARE 11. We were in the field together way back then in your previous career.
Yeah.
Very fun. So that's just my little joke there. I can handle the Badger fact.
Please forgive me. I did go to the University of Minnesota for 1 year. Let's just say they kicked me out. They didn't.
Oh, there's that backstory.
Madison, but let's just say,
leave it at that,
for your sake, that they kicked me out and I had to go to Madison.
All right. I like that. I like that storyline.
Okay.
But I also understand that, you changed fields and you made this decision to go to film. What made you do that?
It's a great question, and there was just sort of a knocking in the back of my brain telling me I needed to do something else with my life, because I actually loved working at KARE. I loved being a reporter, and I did a lot of human interest stories, which I also loved. But as I was thinking about what I want to be doing the rest of my life, it just kept coming back. Well, you've always loved film. Why didn't you ever get into film? Because it's storytelling the same way journalism is, just on a different medium. And I just was sitting on my couch in Uptown. I went to the Uptown Theater with my wife Jill all the time, and saw tons of indie films in the late '90s, early 2000s, and was just like, if you don't try this now, you're never going to do it. I was almost 30 at the time, and that's sort of how it was. Like, just do it. And so I didn't 100% think through the consequences, the pros and cons, other than this is where my passion lies, and if you don't do it now, you're never going to do it.
Well, and let's go talk about your wife for a moment. She's an acclaimed TV person herself and does a lot of things in entertainment. I understand that she said when you made the decision to change careers like that, she told friends that they would see you both on the red carpet in Hollywood one day. What a great wife.
She said that. She was super supportive, paid, my way through film school for the most part at Columbia, and has been nothing but my best friend and truest supporter the whole while. She's more outwardly confident than I am, so she might say something like that. I would never say that out loud, but Jill might, because she's a little more brash.
Yeah, I always remember you as a much more modest person in the field when you were reporting for CARE. We are talking with Phil Johnston. He is director and writer of Ralph Breaks the Internet. Breaking news is that Michael Cohen, Trump's former attorney, sentenced to 3 years in federal prison. We will have live updates from CBS coming up at 31 minutes after the hour, so we will bring that to you. But Phil, what do you want people to get out of this movie? It's really special.
Thanks. I would hope that people would look at this movie and think a little bit more deeply about the way they treat people on the internet, the way they treat their friends. Ralph has this, to use a buzz phrase of today, kind of a streak of toxic masculinity that is inadvertently holding his friend back. And Vanellope, Sarah's character, it's a classic codependent thing where she feels too guilty to, pursue her dreams for fear of offending her friend. And so I would hope that friends would look at this and go, all right, we don't have to think exactly the same way. And, we obviously live in a very polarized world where ideologies seem to fully divide us. And I on a grandiose level of hopefulness, I would say I hope people become a little kinder in their relationships having seen this film. That would be my dream.
It's hard not to fall in love with the characters, and you've chosen such great voices to embody your words, and the visualization is amazing. And as I've watched different parts of this, and when they're falling into the internet, or when they're getting introduced to what it looks like, I mean, the visuals on that, Phil, are just amazing. Give people an idea of how technically complicated that is.
It's the biggest animated film ever made in terms of the number of characters and the number of locations, the buildings, which are websites. There are 500 people who worked on this film, from our visual development team to the production designer, this guy Corey Loftus, who was a naval engineer, a shipbuilder architect before getting into animation. So just really interesting people from various walks of life. We have people from 25 countries working on our movie, and the visuals are, there are shots where there are literally over 1 million characters in a frame, and that would not have been possible when the first Wreck-It Ralph came out. Like, it just, in terms of the complexity, the visual complexity, the depth of field, the detail of the characters, it's unprecedented in animation, and the technology and the creativity. It's sort of the Disney legacy where creativity drives story, and then technology catches up and pushes it even further, and then technology pushes story, and like that. So it's a big one for sure.
Yeah, it is a big one. And now you are nominated for a Golden Globe. My goodness, could you have even dreamed something like that happening on your directorial debut?
No. I compartmentalize everything and I never think about that stuff, honestly, because it freaks me out. And so I was sleeping and got a text. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know the Golden Globes were being announced today. That's cool. Great. So it was a great surprise. I swear to you, I'd forgotten about it, partly because it freaks me out too much to think about, but it's going to be fun. They're great films nominated, so I'm not hoping, or I'm hoping, it goes well, but I'm not guessing that, presuming we will win, but just to go is going to be phenomenal fun.
And so people know, Phil Johnston and his film Ralph Breaks the Internet for the Golden Globes Best Animated Film are up against Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Mirage, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So you've got some stiff competition there, Phil.
For sure. Yeah, yeah. But again, I know it sounds cheesy, but the fact that the movie is out in the world and it's kind of, I think of it like a child. It's kind of walking on its own 2 feet, and people are embracing it. And I would be cool to win awards, but I'm just happy that the movie is out there and people are seeing it and liking it. I don't want to say I don't care about awards, but it would be icing on an already.
Yeah, you have a high tolerance for that kind of affirmation, I would think.
Yeah, sure.
Let's put it that way.
Absolutely.
Real quickly, we don't have much time with you, but I understand you're working on Confederacy of Dunces next. Is that correct?
I don't know if it's going to be next. That's
okay.
a project that the producer Scott Rudin and I have been working on that for, I don't know, 5 years or 5 or 6 years maybe. There are drafts of it that exist. There are people who want to make it, but that, I don't know if you're familiar with that. That book has been cursed in its adaptation from John Belushi was going to do it back in 1981 or whenever it first came out. All the way, John Candy, Chris Farley, Steven Soderbergh was going to make it. Will Ferrell was going to be in it. It's gone through many, many, many iterations and never gotten made.
Well, there were no Phil Johnston, though, Phil.
No, right, exactly. Steven Soderbergh, he's got nothing on me. No.
Well, we are just so excited for you, and I highly recommend Ralph Breaks the Internet for everybody. And then in January, you can watch Phil at the Golden Globes. Hopefully, we'll be rooting for you to get the award. And this texter says, what a classy guy, very wonderful of him to make a gigantic movie to drive home a point about being nice. Thank you so much, Phil, for being with us.
Thank you. Great talking to you. I really appreciate it.